see you looking at the painting.
Yeah. What's it all about? I've never heard of the Battle of Southsea before.
It was a 4-day punch-up over the few square feet by Clarence Pier. Ended when the mayor read the Riot Act and brought the army in.
It was much more than that. The issue was over an ancient right of way.
Now, the pier had been extremely successful, bringing in around £3,000 a year. No, all they wanted to do was extend the pier and protect their
By
investment.
blocking off access to the beach.
Oh, they had every right to make it more exclusive, especially when the lower classes insisted on swimming nude in front of the tea rooms.
People had been bathing from that beach a long time before those tea rooms were built.
And that's led to a 4-day riot.
The common was well used by the people for all sorts of leisure and recreation. See, the route they blocked was the main entrance from Portsmouth to Southsea Common. And at the time, the common was well used by the people for cricket, running, speaker's corner, promenading and lounging. The beer company had been trying for a number of years to make the area more exclusive.
Considerable sums had been invested in making the land more presentable and attractive to a better class of visitor. The common, once a morass, was now neat and trim, with trees lining the paths.
Most of which was done by convict labour. People that had been imprisoned for minor offences like loitering.
What actually happened then?
In May 1874, a local solicitor told the council that the road to the sea had been blocked. He issued a removal notice, but Councillor Barney Miller took it upon himself to remove the barrier.
If he had had an investment in the pier, I doubt he'd have been so noisy about it.
Despite the council trying to get the pier company to back down, they re-erected the barrier on the 4th of August. Now, Barney Miller moved quickly into action. He had some leaflets printed and called a meeting on Wednesday the 5th of August at 7 o'clock on the Common.
That's quick. Can't have been many people attending.
On the contrary, thousands showed up.
They were looking for a fight. You can't arrive with an army and expect peace.
Barney Miller took his wagon onto the Common, loaded up with tools, and Councillor Manoa Jeps. Jeps denounced the pier company and asked the crowd,
Should we submit to the tyranny of a man or take the proceedings into our own hands?
"Put it down," they cried. And up jumped Barney Miller and asked the crowd to take direct action.
We are here to claim our right of road, and we will have it this evening. I hope no violence will be resorted to. Let us take it down in a business-like manner.
And so they did. The crowd, estimated at 5,000 strong, were disciplined and organised and took it down. The timber was chopped up and dragged to the side of the tea rooms so that the company might have the pleasure of witnessing the fire.
You mean they burnt it in front of them?
And in the best tradition of melodrama, the band that was playing on the pier just carried on. After burning the wood and jeering at the company, the crowd just slowly dispersed, and the right-of-way had been restored.
It doesn't sound like much of a battle.
Well, it wasn't. On the first night, it was remarkably peaceful. The second night, though, was a lot more indiscriminate damage. The crowd burnt their hoardings that had been surrounding the pier.
Regular back-slum Lamportarians and juvenile roughs causing criminal damage and chaos.
It took about 2.5 hours to disperse the crowd, so fierce was the fighting.
Blimey.
Saturday dawned on a town full of rumours. It was said that the dockers were coming, the navvies, everybody. They were all wanted their revenge on the police. It was suggested that Southsea was going to witness something like the Paris Commune.
Violent thugs.
The pier company had erected a new barrier in the same place. The mayor issued a notice warning against further disturbances. So at the same time, the police superintendent took it on his own back to issue 200 truncheons to civilians.
Brave, brave men.
In the evening, some 3,000 or 4,000 people surrounded the pier when the mayor got up and read the Riot Act.
Our sovereign lord, the Queen, chargeth and commandeth all persons being assembled immediately to disperse themselves and peacefully depart to their habitation, or to their lawful businesses. Upon the pains contained in the act made in the first year of King George, the first for preventing tumults and riotous assemblies, God save the Queen.
And did they leave?
No, they cheered and set fire to a barrel and refused to go home.
Even though they're being threatened with armed troops?
200 soldiers and 100 policemen advanced on the crowd and tried to clear them. So inevitably, fighting broke out. Once the police and pier guards were allowed to pursue the crowd, a great retribution followed, and there were truncheons going here, there and everywhere.
Taking no active part, I was stood next to a fat sergeant, who asked what it was all about, when I felt his truncheon on my head. Just at that moment, I saw more stars than there ever were in the firmament.
It took 3 hours to clear the common. The troops didn't play much part in the fighting, despite being armed. Many of the people hid in pubs on Castle Road. And by midnight, it was all over bar the shouting.
The police had to restore order to save the city from the communistic element that had not long since ruined the fair city of Paris.
The police were in fact severely criticised. It was said that the superintendent had committed a grave error of judgment by handing out truncheons to civilians.
So what stopped them?
The Sunday was pouring with rain and the common was quiet. But on the Monday, the crowd assembled again and listened to speeches from Miller and Jeps. They cheered their own victory and then dispersed quietly.
What happened to the councillors? To the people?
They were celebrated as generals and the crowd feted as patriots. In the long term, the Battle of Southsea set a precedent that the common was sacred. And now, 150 years later, the people of Portsmouth still reap the benefits of the glorious Battle of Southsea.